Hey everybody, Coach Toolshed here, and today I'm going to be talking about the recent announcement that Sony's made that they're going to be canceling PlayStation Experience for 2018. And this has led to a lot of speculation that PS5 is in fact coming in 2019. I'm going to tell you why today that is not correct and why it's going to actually be coming after that. And the reason why I say that, well, there's a couple different reasons. One is you can listen to what Sony themselves have said, because this has already been addressed by them just a few months ago, and everyone seems to be ignoring this when they're putting out their speculation. And CEO of PlayStation, John Codera, said right before E3 that Sony, for the next 3 fiscal years from that point, was going to be, quote, crouching down, so that way they can come back better than ever at the end of that period. And from the time when he made that statement, if you project out 3 fiscal years later, that's going to take you into the very first part of 2021, meaning in all likelihood that the hardware PS5 is not going to be coming probably until the tail end of 2020 at the earliest. It's certainly not going to be coming next year, not just based on this statement. I got something else I'm going to throw at you as well. But if Sony themselves are saying that, hey, we're going to be taking a step back, and then E3, we know, was already a scaled back approach for them. They really only went over their own main games that they had launching, these exclusive titles that they have coming down the line. They didn't really have a huge showing at E3, and now they've canceled PSX. Well, that just signals to me one thing, and that is that they are in fact winding down the PS4 life cycle. But people are predicting the demise of the PS4 a little bit too soon. For one, the system's still selling very well. Now, we know from recent reports that the system sales have sort of peaked out and they're starting to go down a little bit, but it's still selling very, very well. And they announced, when they made this statement from John Codera, they also had announced that their subscription-based services had gone up dramatically in the last couple of years. So that is what they said they're going to be relying on, and I really don't see how anyone can misinterpret what he said when he said they're going to be taking 3 years of downtime here and saying that, oh, that means that consoles are coming next year. But the real piece of information that I also want to throw out there is it just doesn't make sense that it would be coming next year. And the reason for that being is, look at the games that they still have to launch on PS4. Well, we know we have Days Gone scheduled to come out in February, but there's also a few more games that we know about. We're talking about Ghost of Tsushima, we're talking about The Last of Us 2, we're talking about Death Stranding, and of course, if you want to throw Dreams into the mix, I know that that's not on a ton of people's radar because it's a VR game, but that is another game that they've been hyping, and those are 5 games that still have to be released. And if you think that they're going to jam all 5 of those exclusive releases coming out between, say, February and November of next year, I really don't know what you're thinking. I highly doubt Sony is just going to crank out those releases one after another every couple months. I think more likely what you're going to see is they're going to come out with Days Gone in the winter months for 2019, and then you're going to see a fall game, possibly Ghost of Tsushima or Last of Us 2 is going to be the summer game, and then they'll have another game coming out in the fall. And I think the last game that you'll see coming out would be hitting in 2020, earlier in the year, which would probably be Death Stranding. That's my prediction of order of the way these games will come out. And if you do that, then you're going to have one more big release in early 2020 before you get to E3 2020, which is when I think you'll actually see the announcement for PS5. I think expecting it any time before 2020, especially next year, is just not realistic. Now, they may surprise us and it may come out, but based on what Sony themselves have said, they said, like I already told you, they are going to be crouching down for the next couple of years so they can rise again stronger after that period. And if you really look at what sort of games they can have, well, if they're going to have all their main studios cranking out games, they're going to, Guerrilla had a game last year, and now this year we've already got a game from Santa Monica Studios in the form of God of War. They had the exclusive partnership with Insomniac to make Spider-Man, but Insomniac is not one of their studios. And then, so when you look at the other games that they come out, they got a game coming from Naughty Dog. They got a game coming from the Kojima Studios that they partnered up with. And Of course, Ghost of Tsushima is a Sucker Punch game, and Dreams is from Media Molecule, which is another one of their studios. And if you look at all that, there's not really going to be any games on that list that are going to be ready to go. None of those studios are going to have another game ready to go for a launch for PS5 in 2019. Best case scenario, I think you could have Guerrilla Games ready with maybe a Horizon 2 sequel to launch in late 2020. That is feasible, and it's also feasible based on the timetable. You give them 3 years, that Santa Monica could have another God of War sequel coming out in early 2021. And this to me seems like a much more likely roadmap that we're going to see. The notion that it's coming out, I see a ton of people saying that this proves that it's coming out in 2019. And to me, that is just not at all what's going to be happening. Now, I could be wrong, but hey, anyone speculating right now could be wrong. Obviously, I'm not a Sony CEO. I don't have the inside knowledge, but I can only go based on what they themselves have said and just a logical track record. I highly doubt they're going to crank all 5 of those games out in just 9 months' time next year. That would be really foolish for them to do. They're going to want to give those titles some time to breathe, because I think Days Gone might not be a great seller, but I think the other 3 games especially are something that can shift units if they live up to the billing, especially Last of Us 2 and Death Stranding. I think those are games that have a lot of hype surrounding them, and those are some that can still be pushing PS4s out the door in the twilight of its career. And let's not forget, Sony's going to want to crack that 100 unit sold threshold, which means they're probably going to need another 1.5 to 2 years worth of sales to really crank the PS4 total unit sales over 100 million. So that's really all I had on that. I just wanted to touch this real quick because I've been seeing a ton of speculation videos come out from all the big channels, and some of the smaller channels this week been talking about this. And to me, you just have to listen to what Sony themselves said just a few months back, and it will tell you that 2019, no, it's highly unlikely that that's going to happen. Now, I could be wrong, I could be right, we'll see how it goes, but this is just me throwing my projection into the ring now, and we can go back in a year or so and see whether or not I was correct. That's all I got for you today. I'm Coach Toolshed. You let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are the new consoles coming next year? Are they going to be coming 2020? Are they going to get pushed back to 2021? We don't know. My projection is 2020 fall release for the holiday season. That's what I see happening. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. We can check back in a year's time and see whether I'm right or wrong. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so you can keep track of what's going on here at Coach Toolshed Gaming. I am Coach Toolshed, and as always, you keep it turned to 11.